There is a question that I have been asked more times than I can count, no matter where I teach in the world, and in particular, when I'm teaching about skincare and ingredients. Inevitably, a hand will go up. Hi, I'm Zanoli, and welcome to The Education Effect. This channel in particular is for brands, business owners, reps, estheticians, even educators, or even if you are someone that is so super passionate about skincare, I'd like to welcome you. In this episode, we're going to delve in particular into why this question has been asked for decades, why we keep asking it, and also the behavioral science behind this pattern. We'll look into some science and what that's actually telling us, and then we'll finish with what questions should we be asking instead. So what is this question? If you haven't guessed yet, it's what's the percentage? This question shows up everywhere. You've probably asked me in the past, maybe your patients, or you've asked an educator or a rep before as well, and rightfully so. So I'd like to start with a scenario. Maybe it's you, maybe it's a patient or a client, and it's the middle of the night and you're doom scrolling because you've heard of this amazing ingredient and its benefits, and you think your skin will really do well with it. So you start looking at it and you see vitamin C. Yes, it's an absolute favorite. And one site tells you that they have 5% vitamin C, and you keep scrolling. And there's another site with 15%, another with 20%, another with even 30%, and you're like, wow, that's the product I need. Because the next one you look at, just to make sure, doesn't even have a percentage. So clearly that one isn't going to make it because it's probably too little. So imagine you're the provider, which you probably are, and I'm coming in as the educator for one of the products that you have on your shelf right now. And later in the day, you're going to have another appointment with a new sales rep and their new innovation that they say you really have to have on your shelf. But up first, I come in and we speak about the antioxidant that we have in our range, and I start speaking about the ingredients, and in particular, you guessed it, the vitamin C. And I tell you that there's a 15% vitamin C within the product. Excellent. Now you know, and you can start educating your patients on what the vitamin C can do for them, and that it's a 15% concentration within the product. Great. Later on, in comes this new rep with their innovation, and they tell you it's also an antioxidant and it has a little blend. And they mention that the product does have vitamin C. Guess what? Yes, you're going to put your hand up and you're going to ask, what's the percentage? And they don't answer because they say it's part of a blend and its innovation is around this whole formula. But you need to understand, because you need to see how does it compare with what you have on the shelf right now. Is it better? Is it stronger? Is it more effective? Yeah, but nowhere in both these scenarios has anyone even stopped to ask, is that the right question? For us to even discuss why that may or may not be the right question, we need to understand, where did this come from? And so the first theory actually came from two Nobel Prize winners, and Kahneman, and their theory was called anchoring bias. What does that mean? It's the first information you received becomes the anchor. So I came in and I told you 15% vitamin C. So that became the standard. Whether it's accurate or not isn't the point. That becomes your baseline that you will compare all other information to. Now add on to that something called the illusion of explanatory depth. This is when we think we know and understand something because we're familiar with the name. Percentage. We think that the higher the percentage, the more effective and the stronger it is. So we feel informed. But familiarity and information are not the same as education. So let's get going into what is that education. So to explain the science, I'm going to stick with vitamin C. And when I say that vitamin C is not one ingredient, what I mean is there's several different forms. So we're going to start with the purest form and the most popular, which is L-ascorbic acid. It is the most researched and bioactive. It has the longest clinical track record, but it is acidic, which can be quite irritating to quite a few people. Hence the breakouts, and hence some of you tell me all the time, I can't use vitamin C. It also requires a pH of around 3.5, and it is very unstable. So with all of this in mind, there are newer forms on the market that are particularly more stable and more gentle and tolerable for those that generally get the breakouts. For example, THD ascorbate or tetrahexyldecyl ascorbate, a newer form that is lipid soluble. It is a precursor to vitamin C, which means that once it's penetrated, it will convert into L-ascorbic acid in the skin. It is much more stable, and it does penetrate slightly differently than L-ascorbic acid. But because it's so much gentler, there are a lot more companies starting to use this form of vitamin C. There are other forms as well that are water soluble, such as sodium ascorbyl phosphate, ascorbyl glucoside, and even magnesium ascorbyl phosphate. These are all much more tolerable for those sensitive and reactive skins that can't handle that pure form L-ascorbic acid. So now we know a little bit more about our vitamin C, right? But did you know that vitamin C works better when it has the right partners? For example, vitamin E. And if your company has two forms of vitamin E, so much the better. But vitamin E neutralizes those free radicals in that cell membrane. So it works on the outside, which allows the vitamin C to come straight in and do its job effectively without having to do that neutralization. It also regenerates vitamin E, so they work really well in partnership. What else is this combination is 5 times more photoprotection than vitamin C on its own. There's also ferulic acid. Yes, I'm sure you've heard of that one as well. It stabilizes both the vitamin C and the vitamin E, and it strengthens the antioxidant performance. It can actually extend the shelf life of the combination of vitamin C and vitamin E and doubles the photoprotection. Then there's also ergothioneine, is an extremely stable antioxidant, and it protects the entire network of antioxidants. It reduces that oxidative depletion, which means that the vitamin C and the vitamin E will also last a lot longer and be more effective within the skin. So many new skincare companies are starting to include ergothioneine for just that reason. We also need to be thinking about pH, in particular the L-ascorbic acid, because that pH, as I mentioned, needs to be around 3.5 for product penetration. So there are so many things that we need to be thinking about in context when it comes to the vitamin C. What I want to do now is put this all into an analogy for you so that you can understand it from a different perspective. So we've gone through the vitamin C, we understand the anchoring bias and the illusion of depth, and now let me help you understand why vitamin C in partnership is even more effective. So think of that pure vitamin C on its own as a glass of orange juice. Yes, I know. And then you can take your orange juice every single day. Great, you get all the vitamin C you need. However, because we now know that vitamin C works so much better in combination with other ingredients, why don't we rather just make a smoothie? The vitamin C goes in, the acai goes in, the spinach goes in, all the amazing ingredients to create a fantastic smoothie where vitamin C is being supported. So putting that in perspective, in the formula, the smoothie should contain vitamin C, absolutely the vitamin E, maybe it's got ferulic, and other antioxidants to support the hero and make it more effective. I hope you understand now that it's never just about the one ingredient, the orange juice or the vitamin C. It's all about the architecture, the entire formulation, the smoothie. Sometimes a lower percentage of vitamin C in a formula can outperform a higher vitamin C that is flying solo. Okay, Z, so if I'm not supposed to ask about the percentage, what should I be asking? Don't think about just the what. What is the percentage? Start thinking about the why and the how with the what. So here's 4 suggestions for you. What is the purpose of the product? What else is in the formula that supports that vitamin C or hero ingredient? What does the data say about the entire formula, not just that one ingredient? And is the formula stable, in particular like vitamin C? And how is that ingredient protected? Because maybe, just like pure L-ascorbic acid, it needs a delivery system to penetrate into the skin. So I'm not dismissing what is the percentage, but the percentage is one data point. This will help you understand that if you ask these types of questions, it will completely change how you evaluate products for your business, for yourself, and for your patients. I'm sure you can now see that it was never about the percentage. The percentage was just the information. Understanding what's around it, that context, that smoothie, the formula, that's education. Again, a 5% vitamin C in the right formula, maybe it's with vitamin E, ferulic, ergothioneine, quite a few different supporting ingredients, could probably outperform that even up to 30% vitamin C that may be flying solo. Sometimes, but not always. So I'd really like you to think about the different questions every single time someone comes to educate you, every single time you read about it, every single time. That's the education effect. I hope this has helped you. If you really enjoyed this information, please comment, please like, please subscribe to this Education Effect channel, and I really look forward to seeing you in the future.